We are now talking to Mets MLB analyst Rob Morosca. What's going on, Rob? How are you?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Listen, I cannot do that accent. I have a New Jersey, New York accent, so there's no way I'm doing that British accent.
Well, I tell you, that's a deep accent over there. I mean, Renton had some accent, but I love those English accents. Some of the things when they speak, English people speak, you can't comprehend on the words that they use because they use different words than we use over here in New York, and that's why they like our accents, and that's why we love their accents. So there you go.
Yeah, definitely. But the I matey thing, I think, is Australia. I don't think it's England. So
there you go. So, anyways, so why don't we get into the Mets? And I'll say this: going into the season, everybody thought that this was the best pitching staff in all of baseball. Everybody thought, hey, it's the Mets. Maybe they're going to get some luck. Jacob deGrom stays healthy for the whole season. Max Scherzer, who never gets hurt, he starts the home opener while Jacob deGrom is sitting out for the next 4 weeks. None of that happens. Both guys are hurt right now, and Max probably will start, after the 5th or 6th game, but. McGill starts. Who would have thought that would be a great trivia? I was telling Speedy before the show that will be a great trivia question. 10 years from now, who started in 2022 for the New York Mets, knowing that Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom is part of that organization, that team. What are your thoughts to McGill, especially they're up 2-0 right now going into the 6th inning? What are your thoughts to the Mets right now in that rotation?
He looks all right. They're up 2-0, but it's opening day. Remember, they're always winning opening day, so you can't go by that. I was happy with the rotation, but I was nervous about deGrom, definitely. How could you not be nervous about deGrom? Scherzer now, about a half hour ago, they said he's going to be ready to pitch tomorrow, so we'll see what happens with that. I mean, tomorrow morning we might wake up, we might hear something else. But it's like the old Family Guy bit when Stewie goes to the Met game and the announcer says it's opening day and here's the first pitch and the season's over. That's the Mets. That's the Mets.
So Jacob deGrom, you mentioned, did not pitch the entire second half last season, did not pitch in the All-Star game. It looked like for a while that it was his choice initially, then they never revealed anything at the end of the season when they did have the injury. So who do you blame for that whole debacle? Do you think it was the front office? Do you think it was management? Was it deGrom himself that kind of inflicted that?
I thought it was going to be different because the Wilpons were gone, and it just stayed the same. So I'm pretty sure it was management. The same thing happened every year. They leave you wondering what is going on with deGrom. I mean, they just cannot come out and tell you. And I thought that was going to change. Hopefully it changes this year, but it didn't change last year. And that was a mess. Once again, it's a mess with the Mets.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Mets and MLB analyst Rob Morosca. So we talk about, where the Mets are and what the Mets are going to do this year. Everybody thought, hey, this roster is completely different. This lineup is stacked now. Lindor, second year as a New York Met. He started off terrible last year. He got that big contract, that $340 million contract. And a lot of Met fans were very disgusted for what he did in the first half of the season. Second half, he was a lot better, especially the last 2 months of the season where he was one of the hottest hitters in baseball. You added Marte and Escobar. When going into the season, did you think that this team was totally upgraded at all the positions, especially in the outfield?
Not at all their positions, because I still think they need a power hitter in the outfield. Let's talk Michael Conforto right now, and that big mistake that he made turning down $120 million before last season. That was a mistake for him. He made a bet on himself and he lost. And then he turned down the qualifying offer this year. Now he's not playing. You know that if someone signs him now, they have to give up a draft pick. So he might not be playing till July. I think the Mets needed another power, and I think they need another power hitter in that outfield.
So one of the things with the Mets lineup depth this year, like you were saying, they brought in some more outfielders as a whole, but a lot of these other guys, McNeil, Smith, that were fringe guys, did not get traded. Are you surprised that they didn't get traded? And what do you see Buck Showalter using in terms of the roles with the team, especially now with the DH?
Well, yeah, the DH. I'm an old-time National League guy, so I was against it. But you know what? I came around. They have to have a DH. The game has changed. I know it helps the Mets. Definitely helps the Mets. But is Cano going to be the DH tonight? He's throwing at second base. What's going on? I don't know what Buck's thinking that way. But I'm glad the Mets brought in Buck. They had to do that. I know he overstays his welcome with every team he's with. But right now, that was the move the Mets had to make. You know what? Like I said, I was against the DH, but now let's see what happens.
Well, we look at Chris Bassett, and a lot of people thought after the Mets made this trade, and they made this trade fairly late after the lockout, really a week after the lockout, you heard Bassett was going to the Mets. Very surprising. They gave up 2 prospects, one decent one, the other one nobody's ever heard of, so nobody's going to cry about it. But Bassett, who's been in the American League 7-8 years of his career, he started his career with the White Sox, and then over the last couple of years, he's been an Oakland A's and Oakland A's pitcher. And last 2 years, he's been fairly great. Last year, he was up for a Cy Young before he got hit in the face with a baseball and didn't play for the rest of the season. You look at this guy, Chris Bassett. I think he is, to me, the most important part of this rotation because we all know what Max Scherzer could be. We all know what Jacob deGrom could be. If Chris Bassett has 14, 15 wins, this could be the best rotation in baseball. Do you think that?
I agree with you. When they made that move, I loved it. I mean, I didn't even see that coming. It was a great move. They like you said, they gave up one really good prospect. The other one, no one knows about. No one cares. I think that was one of the key moves of the offseason because we know deGrom is going to be hurt. He's probably going to come back and he's probably going to get hurt again. Mm-hmm. We don't know with Scherzer. They're up there in age. So I think that was a great move.
So we've seen a lot of teams now pay players younger right away rather than trying to wait till their value goes up where they have to give them these massive $300 million contracts. The Braves did it, the Blue Jays, the White Sox. And Pete Alonso now is in that realm where I personally want the Mets to pay him now. What do you think about that kind of approach, especially now with the Mets right at the brink of the luxury tax as well?
I agree with you. I want them to do it now. I want them to do it early. I like that teams are signing these guys younger. They're going to, stay with the team that way. So, yeah, I definitely would like to see that happen, definitely.
As everyone knows, we are talking to Mets and MLB analyst Rob Morosca. Now, you look at, he was mentioning Pete Alonso, but you look at, obviously, Sterling Marte getting the money that he got, and he was one of the best base stealers in all of baseball. He was the best base stealer in baseball. And they needed to upgrade certain positions this offseason. Jeff McNeil didn't have a great season last year. Some people thought that they were going to try to trade him in the offseason. And then you heard, before the season started in spring training, you heard that they were shipping and they were trying to trade Dominic Smith. And the Padres reached out to them, and they said, we'd offer you Eric Hosmer, and I forget the other.
Chris Paddock and one of the relief. Emilio Pagan, who just got traded today, ironically, to the Twins.
Yes, and they did not do that. Were you surprised with all the players that they were getting offered in that trade for Dominic Smith? Do you really think that Dominic Smith was worth that type of price to keep?
Well, Hosman, they were going to have to pay him a lot of money anyway.
Do you think Steve Cohen cares about the money?
No, he definitely doesn't care about the money. I don't know if that's a good deal. I don't know why. I thought Dom Smith was going to be gone. I'm shocked that he's here opening day. I really thought he was going to be gone. So, I don't know what's going on with him. Is he going to be DH? What's he going to do? He's never, he's decent, but he's not what they thought. They thought he was going to be a superstar. He's not a superstar.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, actually, when I saw that trade almost trade on Saturday, I would have. I'm surprised that the Mets didn't pull the trigger. Maybe they were afraid of the Hosmer contract because I know
who cares about that.
The Padres have been trying to move it.
Hosmer has 3 years left on that contract. He's a great defensive first baseman. You could move Pete Alonso to your DH here and there and put Hosmer as your first base. Hosmer could give you 20 to 25 home runs in a good season. I would have done that. I would have done it too.
So my question leads to that. Do you think the Mets at this point, because of the new...
And by the way, I just read, they wanted Paddock involved in that trade. Paddock was not involved with that trade. That's what the Mets were asking for to get to make the trade for Hosmer and the two other players. They were not willing to trade Paddock. As well as the Yankees tried to get Paddock in that trade. Instead, they got Lang. I think that was a better deal for the Yankees because I think Lang is 2-3 years away, and I think he's got great stuff.
So my question is with that, do you think the Mets are at that point now, especially with the new tax, the fourth level tax in the new CBA, where they're not going to take on any more big contracts, and you think they're just going to go for any more smaller moves at this point, or could you still see a big move at the trade deadline or something like that?
Like we just said, I don't think Steve Cohen really cares. I think he wants to win, and he wants to win now. So I don't think the money and the fourth level of the tax, I don't think that matters to him. Because the trading deadline, if they have to spend money, they're going to spend money, especially if they're in it. So I don't think that's a factor. I really don't think that's a factor. He has money and he spends it.
I think his threshold right now is at $290. I mean, to me, the money that he is spending is no object in his eyes. I think he feels that if the Mets are right there in a playoff spot, if they need to make a move, they were talking about. I mean, I heard through the grapevine that they were interested in trying to make a move for Juan Soto, this offseason. And obviously, their Nationals weren't willing to trade him. But I expect next offseason, Juan Soto will be the name that everybody is going to try to make a move for. And I could see the Nationals looking to move him in the offseason. I would be surprised if the Mets are one of those teams that are going to make a bid for him.
They're going to push hard if they're going to trade him to the Mets, though.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
I don't think he'll go to the Mets.
Right.
I think he's more in the American League. Chicago and still the Yankees, especially with this Aaron Judge thing. If somehow the Yankees lose Aaron Judge, I expect the Yankees to go hard after Juan Soto. But that's just me.